sentence writing subjects. Let's look at what we have already studied about sentence writing. Every sentence begins with a capital letter. Look at the first word in this sentence. What do you see? A capital letter. We also learned that every sentence finishes with a period. We use a period with affirmative statements. I am a teacher, period. And we also use a period with negative statements. I don't work on Mondays, period. We use a question mark when we ask a yes/no question. Do you work? Question mark. Or when we ask an information question, where do you work? Question mark. And if you want to express a strong emotion or feeling, we use an exclamation mark. So we say, wow, exclamation, it's really cold today, exclamation. We also learned that every sentence has a verb. I teach at George Brown College. What's the verb? That's right, teach. And the subject and the verb must agree. So I say I teach, but with my sister, do I say my sister teach? No, we say my sister teaches at U of T. And today we're going to learn about subjects. Every sentence has a subject. Let's look at some sentences. Number 1, am from Canada. Is this a good sentence? No, it's a bad sentence. I am from Canada. Is this a good sentence? Yes, it's a good sentence because we now have a subject, I. Number 2, studies at George Brown College. What's the verb? Studies. Do we know who studies at George Brown College? No, we don't know. So is this a good sentence? No, it's a bad sentence. John studies at George Brown College. Do we know who studies at George Brown College? Yes, it's John. So this sentence is a good sentence because we have the subject John. Like Toronto. Is this a good sentence? Do we have a verb? Yes. What's the verb? Like. But do we know who likes Toronto? Do we have a subject? No subject, so it's a bad sentence. The students like Toronto. Now we know who likes Toronto. It's the students. So this sentence we have a subject. So this is a good sentence. A subject tells us two important things. The subject tells us who or what the sentence is about. Tina teaches at George Brown College. What is the verb? Teaches. Very good. And the verb tells us the action. But who does the action? That's right. Tina does the action. So Tina is the subject. The subject tells us who does the action. My car drives really smoothly. What's the verb? Drives. And the verb tells us the action. But what drives really smoothly? Yes, my car. So what do we call car? The subject. because it tells us what does the action. Let's find the subject in the sentence. Number 1, my sister lives in the United States. What's the verb? Lives. And who lives in the United States? That's right, my sister. So my sister is the subject. And sister, what part of speech is sister? Sister is a noun. Let's take a look at number 2. Where are you from? What's the verb? Are. What's the subject? That's right, you. You is the subject. Now you, is that a noun? What part of speech is you? You is a pronoun. Number 3, I have 2 siblings. What's the verb? Have. Who has 2 siblings? That's right, I. So we call I the subject. Now, is I a noun? No. Is I a pronoun? Yes, I is a pronoun. Number 4, my computer is broken. What's the verb? Is. Do we know what is broken? Yes, we know what is broken. It's my computer. So my computer is the subject. Now computer, is it a pronoun? No, it is a noun because it is a thing. As you can see, the subject of a sentence can be a noun, just like sister and computer, or a pronoun, just like you and I. In affirmative and negative statements, the subject comes before the verb. Am from Canada. This is an affirmative statement. The verb is an, and we need to add a subject before am. And what subject goes with am? Yes, I am from Canada. So the subject is first and the verb is second. Doesn't smoke. Now we have a negative statement. So the verb is doesn't smoke. We know who doesn't smoke? No, we don't. Let's find out who doesn't smoke. My father doesn't smoke. So what is number 1? Subject. What is number 2? Doesn't smoke. Why? Because it's a negative statement. Always do their homework. What is the verb? Do. Do we know who always does their homework? No, we don't. My students always do their homework. What is number 1? Subject. What is number 2? Verb. Why? Because it is an affirmative statement. In yes/no questions and information questions, the subject comes after the verb. Are sick, homesick. What's the verb? Are. And it's number 1. Because this is a yes/no question, we put the subject after the verb. Are you homesick? You is the subject. Does your blah 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 work? What is number 1? Verb. Do you remember what kind of verb this is? It's a helping verb. Do we know the subject? Now we do. Does your father work? What is number 1? Verb, helping verb, and then we have the subject because this is a yes/no question. Where are from? What kind of question is this? An information question. So do we have the subject first? No. What do we have first? The verb, and the verb is are. Where are you from? Number 2 is subject. Number 1 is verb. Where does blah 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 live? What kind of question is this? Information question. So, what is first? That's right, a verb is first. Now in this case we have a helping verb, does. And then after the helping verb does, we have the subject, your sister. A sentence can have more than one subject. Let's take a look at this sentence. John and Laura are married. What's the verb? Are. Who's married? John, Laura. This sentence has two subjects. My parents and I speak Italian. What's the verb? Speak. Who speaks Italian? Parents, I. This sentence has two subjects. The subject and verbs always agree. I really like Toronto. What's the verb? Like. What's the subject? I. But when we have the subject John, what do we need to do with the verb? We need to add an S. John is the subject, likes is the verb. John really likes Toronto. I am happy today. What's the verb? Am. What's the subject? I. But if I want to talk about Lisa, do we say Lisa am happy today? No, we need to say Lisa is happy today. So the subject, Lisa, and the verb agree. I don't smoke. What's the verb? Smoke. What's the helping verb? Don't. What's the subject? I. So with I, we say I don't. But if I want to talk about my boyfriend, do I say my boyfriend don't smoke? No. We say my boyfriend doesn't smoke. So the subject is boyfriend, the helping verb is doesn't. So the subject and verb always agree.